About 6 months ago, I started a website called Trustos.org, which promotes the idea of trust as a virtual currency. A lot of people told me that it is still difficult to understand that concept. And therefore, I decided to publish or to put 4 little video clips into the internet on the Trustos.org Facebook site to explain it. The first was the topic, where does the idea come from? The second, how does Trustos.org is being set up? The third, how Trustos.org works. And the fourth was the topic, future vision for Trustos.org. So let's start with the first topic. It should be about 5 to 10 minutes long. Where does the idea come from? So I'm an ordinary human being. There's nothing special about me. I'm a physician who sits in his office. These books are related to my work. I don't have a philosophy degree or anything sophisticated otherwise. I'm married. I have kids in college. I have a pretty happy life by all standards. I have a good life. So to me, Trustos.org is not to be a startup or to make money. It is not to promote myself or to become famous. That's the reason I prefer to stay nameless at this point. It's you could call it it's a social experiment, so to speak. And to be honest, even if you like the idea and you want to run with it and make it shinier and bigger, that would be great. Actually, I would like that. So what drives me? The first thing which drives me is the conscious or the understanding that we are all connected. Everything is connected. Whatever I think, what I believe, what I do has an impact on the environment and on myself too, obviously. The second thing is that I perceive the world, that there is an increase in money and materialistic values driving the world. Don't get me wrong, I have no problems with that. I own stocks, I'm an investor in all sorts of things. I have a little startup, more or less successful. But so I have no problems with capitalistic values. But I see the world being more and more driven by money. Give you an example. Pablo Escobar, the big guy from Colombia who sold cocaine all over the world, who was killed several years ago, he made in his heydays $60 million a day. Let's assume you are a pilot in Colombia making $1,000 a month. And someone comes and tells you, you take that big bag of white powder, drop it over the United States, risks pretty low, we'll pay you $5 million. What would you do? Would you say, well, it's not the right thing to do, or would you follow the temptation? And that's a question everybody faces in his life to a bigger or smaller extent. We used to have religions who prevented us from doing the wrong choice, but they seem to get a little less powerful in our societies. Then the third thing which drives me is the understanding that life is a very fragile endeavor. I see that as a physician every day. People can die with cancer within months sometimes in the most extreme form. So, and the most valuable materialistic thing we all have is our own body. And you can do only so much with money. So when I look at the world, I see different things. The first thing I see is that there's increasing division. I see that after the US election, there are the liberals and the conservatives. I can see divisions between countries, between religions who pretend they have the only answer. I can see increasing division between rich and poor. So that's one big factor. The other thing is I can see that there is a loss of trust in regard of towards politicians, the government, banks, big institutions. A lot of people think, they will all run with the money if they get over the $5 million reward, and they will lose their integrity and just go for it. And then the third thing is what I realize is that the world is getting smaller and smaller, actually. With social media, we can extend and can connect to almost anybody on that planet. Fake news is a big issue. We can spread all sorts of informations and news. So I asked myself as a next step some questions and hope to find answers, easy answers to that. So the first question I asked myself, what would it take to define the smallest denominator of humanity there was, which anybody can relate to, everybody, anywhere, regardless of the geographic area, regardless if you're conservative or liberal, if you're Muslim or Catholic, if you're a Jew, if you're rich or poor. The second thing I ask myself is, what would it take to create a concept? You might call it a game. You could call it a social experiment to make integrity viral, to make it shiny, to make people, to reward unexpected human behavior. People who turn down the $5 million temptation. Basically to reward the magic moments we all know, and to nourish them. And the third question is how to make that visible to everybody, to give an example to people, to act like an incentive for people to engage and invest into that concept, to create an orientation for our own children. Oftentimes children are driven by the orientation of, who drives the biggest car, the biggest mansion, who is the supermodel, who is in People magazine. But what would it take to create a system where integrity is more and more an orientation? So we do spend a lot of time on Facebook. We do all sorts of games on the internet. We spend a lot of time. What will it take to create a system where you spend a few moments, maybe a day, maybe a week, which increases that idea in our community? So I think you understand where I'm coming from, and maybe even where I'm going to. So whenever we have more humanity or integrity in our life, there's an increase in trust. We can feel that in our own environment. People who are very cynical could say, well, the only we really trust in is God. But I would answer that every human being on that planet had to trust in others while being a little baby. We were helpless. We all had to trust our parents, our mother. So we all appreciated that moment. And I think trust is a very important ingredient of a healthy society, of the fabric which creates a healthy society. So having said all that, next time I will talk to you with the second topic, how Trustos.org is set up. And I thank you for your time, and hopefully see you next time. Thank you.